Hello and welcome to the Hat Trick presented by the ICC. I'm Charlie Stillitano, joined by Neil Barnett. The English Premier League returns this week, and we're going to cover the top storylines as we enter this post-shutdown sprint to the end of the season. Make sure to check out all our past podcasts on internationalchampionscup.com, and if you haven't already, subscribe on Spotify and iTunes. To hear more from us, tune into The Football Show, weekday mornings on Sirius XM FC. I am pretty damn excited watching football on TV, and it's become, I'm almost feeling like we're coming back to normal. And now the final throw will be this English Premier League, I think.
First of all, it's been brilliant. It's been brilliant for German football coming back first, and the Spanish and Italian football coming back at the weekend. English football comes back on Wednesday with the two games that haven't been played to bring everybody up to 29 of the 38 matches being held. These two games were postponed at the beginning of March when Manchester City played Aston Villa in the Carabao Cup final, the League Cup final, and the league games were postponed. So it's Manchester City against Arsenal and Aston Villa against Sheffield United. Now, both games are of massive interest. First of all, because Manchester City can't afford to lose. They are 25 points behind Liverpool. Liverpool needs 6 points to win the league. And obviously, if Manchester City lose at home to Arsenal, then Liverpool could win the league at the weekend because they'd only need 3 points then to win it. And who are Liverpool playing at the weekend on Sunday, but away to Everton?
Wow. That's not a long away trip for him, though. It's across the park.
Yeah,
if you've ever been there, it's literally across the park.
You can walk it in about 10 minutes between. Yeah. You can stand in the middle and see the two stadia. And Liverpool is increasingly modern looking, and Everton is increasingly slum looking.
It's sad, but Everton, like Spurs, was always that way, and their big rival Arsenal had the beautiful Emirates Stadium, and they were looking at really White Hart Lane, which was really starting to get dilapidated and old. And now they built the most beautiful stadium in the world. They're certainly one of the most beautiful stadiums in the world. And you have, I wonder if Everton's going to do the same. They're wealthy, for God's sakes. They have wealthy owners.
Yeah. Well, they're working to it, and I think they will do it. And they've got. They're only in 12th place in the league at the moment. We'll come on to Everton in a moment because Manchester City in this game that they need to win are playing Arsenal. Arsenal are down in 9th position, 40 points, 8 points behind 4th place. Their best player, their arguably only world-class player, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, is out of contract at the end of next season. They're in negotiations. He has said that he hasn't made a decision yet on what he's going to do. He'll be 31 at the end of next season. But obviously, if he doesn't sign a new contract, they've got to sell him this summer. They bought him for nearly £60 million. They got to sell him this summer. And he's been linked with Barcelona for a short-term deal. He's been linked with Chelsea.
Well, I think he's a fabulous player. And I think that, like Lewandowski, I don't think it matters that he's, over 30. And I think he can be a terrific player for a number of teams, especially teams that are competing. And really, maybe that's the question, right, Neil? I mean, is Arsenal still competitive? I mean, they brought over Arteta to be the manager. They have their problems, like you said. They have Ozil, who was bought, I think, years ago now. The team was going to be built around someone like him. Now they're looking at, do they even just, he's been in and out of the starting lineup. Do you keep a guy like that? Do you sell him at this point? What do you do at Aubameyang? Because this is really a critical moment for Arsenal. And what if they keep everyone and they end up in 9th place and they're not in Europa Cup, they're not in anything? That doesn't really bode well for them, does it?
My understanding of Mesut Ozil is that despite him being on £350,000 a week, that he was earning more from outside football than in it. Sponsorships within football, obviously. And, of course, he's lost 2 of his major sponsorships in the last few weeks. Now, his agent has said that's their policy because he's going to have his own franchise, his own kit, clothing, whatever business. I'm not sure that that's so. He's got a lot of.
I mean, really, that's I understand Cristiano Ronaldo having his own line of stuff. I'm not sure the Ozil's at the point where his career has gone through the roof like that, where he's now having his own line of clothing. What's it going to be like?
I have heard from inside.
I don't want to be cynical, Neil, but I'm already being cynical. I know I am.
I've heard from inside Arsenal that his mind hasn't always been on football. It's because he's earning so much money from these other projects.
Well, look, he's had his detractors. Most vocally, the guys from Bayern Munich, Uli Hoeneß and some other people, about how he is, he's of Turkish descent. Obviously, there are over 4 million Turks in Germany.
President Erdogan, who has come in for a lot of criticism in the West, was his best man.
I didn't realize that in his wedding.
Yeah.
Obviously.
He was his best man, and it was a photograph taken with him before the World Cup, which led to him retiring from international football for the criticism he received for it after the World Cup, and claiming that Germany was racist in its attitude to Turkish people. I mean, it's something that has come full circle in a way in terms of politics and its relevance, because he claimed he wasn't willing to accept the racism, and he didn't want to be part of the German national team anymore.
And that's where the criticism came from Uli Hoeneß and a lot of the old Bayern folks saying, hey.
I was uncomfortable with that criticism, I have to say. Now, I'm going to admit here, I'm not a fan of President Erdogan at all. I've been to Turkey many times. I think it's a wonderful country.
Beautiful country.
And
fascinating too, by the way.
Although the number one religion was very much Islam, it was always run on a secular basis. It's changed under Erdogan. It's more Islamic, more Muslimized now. That's in itself isn't so much the issue. The issue for me as a working journalist is that Turkey has more journalists in jail than any other country in the world, Charlie. And
that's pretty horrific. Yeah. I mean, I go with that. That's pretty horrific.
Yeah, Arsenal, by the way, Arsenal, of course, have this game at Manchester City in hand. So if they were to win it, they go up to 43 points, 5 behind the top 4 positions.
Well, it's
and
so
2 behind Manchester United. So it's a massive game for them.
Right. They have to win this. Now, your point about Man City has to win, I think, is kind of silly. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Because, Liverpool are going to win. You know what I mean? And that's what's important. They're going to win the league. So, but keep in mind that they're so far ahead, Liverpool, that I don't think it means a hill of beans to Man City.
Well, if Manchester City lose to Arsenal, Liverpool can win the league at the weekend. Otherwise, they'll win it the following week. And that's at home to Crystal Palace next Wednesday. And there was a lot of discussion as to whether they'd be allowed to play at home for fear of fans collecting outside Anfield in order to celebrate with them.
Neil, we're having over here, and I don't know how it is in England, but some of the states are opening up here. And, there are scenes with people, and it's become a badge of honor for some people not to wear a mask and to go to these gatherings. And it's a bizarre thing to me, because of all things that should not be political, it's whether or not you're keeping people safe around you, right? But I want to put it not really aside, but just put it here for a second, Neil. Like, if people go outside Anfield and they're practicing, safe, distancing and putting on a mask, is that a problem? Don't they deserve a parade? I can see this parade going for 100 miles of Liverpool supporters staying 6 feet apart if they wanted to, really.
That is not going to happen.
Okay. And it's a great idea. I know it is. Look, think about this. From Anfield, as far as you want to go, all the way to Manchester, you might as well, right? You'll have people 6 feet apart all the way, and the team will drive 60 miles in a little caravan. I think it's a good idea, and I think I should get credit for it.
Let me tell you that the only trophy that has been handed out in Europe since coronavirus, actually physically handed out, was to Jesse Marsh's team,
Right.
to RB Salzburg, Red Bull Salzburg, for their Austrian Cup victory. And the players went onto a platform to celebrate and to receive the trophy. And there were circles already drawn on the platform 2 meters apart so that the players could all celebrate inside their circles. And they were jumping up and down and celebrating.
It was great, by the way.
2 meters apart from everybody else. With the and the captain held the trophy up in the middle of it all and couldn't pass it on to anybody else. I mean, that's no. I mean, Klopp has said we will wait until the virus goes, whenever that is, and then I promise you we will have a parade. I think Klopp has been brilliant in all this. Can I just remind everybody that the spread of the virus in Europe was really not helped by allowing certain football matches to take place, and two of the most difficult ones in terms of spreading the virus were Atalanta versus Valencia, which was held in Milan, which
at the San Siro.
Which was the centre of the virus, and it seemed to spread to Valencia after that. And Liverpool versus Atletico Madrid. And Madrid had the virus badly, and it seemed to spread to Liverpool after that. And I will forever remember coming out for kickoff, Jurgen Klopp, and it was already held. It was already held that you couldn't touch, no handshakes, and you could only touch elbows in order to acknowledge each other. And as he came out, Liverpool fans were hanging over the edge of the barriers,
trying to
down the tunnel, holding out their hands, looking for a high five and a clash of hands. And Jurgen Klopp, in his brilliantly diplomatic manner, said, "Put your effing," he didn't say effing, "put your effing hands away" at them all, in pure Scouse Liverpool language. And he has been a great import to English football.
Well, he's been very similar to Jose Mourinho in the sense that he changed the culture of press and the managers, right? And it really is. It's that the dialogue between a manager and press. When Jose came, it was a different world. I mean, you had the Arsene Wenger, the cerebral, right? You had Fergie getting mad at people and stuff, and all of a sudden you had Jose joking with people, and now you have that soured up and down. Jose's been up and down, as we know, but Klopp has really been the even more so than Pep Guardiola has been really the guy that the press has embraced, and he's embraced them, and it's been fascinating. It's almost like if you go against Klopp, you are ostracized by your fellow press people. But let's focus on the top four.
Well, Liverpool qualified for next year's Champions League.
They won already. They won the league. But move that aside.
Manchester City will come second. But the question is, will they qualify for the Champions League, or will they be banned by UEFA? UEFA have banned them for 2 years. They've appealed to the Court of Sporting Arbitration, and that appeal has been heard and will be decided upon before next season. So we are going to get a decision in time.
Well, that's good. It has to be. It can't be not. Let's say they cut it to 1 year, Neil.
I think if they cut it to 1 year, Charlie, that everyone of significance will stay.
Yeah.
I think if it's 2 years...
That's the challenge. Right?
I think if it's 2 years, people of significance will want to leave. And the one who has already hinted that he'd find it difficult at his age to miss out on 2 years of the Champions League is the best midfielder in the world, Kevin De Bruyne.
Certainly one of the best, and I'm not going to argue with you. And I think that is really tough at his age, right at the prime of his career, to miss 2 years of the Champions League. Keep in mind that he has one more he has one more year now. They're going through it. It may be a little tournament in Portugal, it looks like, that it may turn into an 8-team tournament in Portugal, of which they have a 2-1 lead.
In Madrid. They won in Madrid. So
but I have to say this, Neil, without the fans, there's no real huge advantage here. Let's be honest.
No, and that game has to be played. It should be played at City, but it's a problem, the home leg, because, of course, to come into England at the moment, you need a 2-week quarantine by legal requirements. So if that hasn't been lifted by August, when the game would be due to be played, City will have to play at a neutral ground and not come back, compete in wherever UEFA hold it. Lisbon is looking the most likely at the moment.
So they could, you're telling me they could actually go to Lisbon to
and
play,
not be able to go home,
and not be able to go home, but they could stay in Lisbon and play. If they went through, they could stay in Lisbon and play in that little mini tournament they're talking about. Yeah, that seems like the most. Yeah. It's insane, Neil. You're telling me that the EPL and the government of England, that has been a little bit, let's say, lax in certain things with the coronavirus. They've certainly not been draconian like a China or even like Italy, and that's really locked things down. You're telling me now they're saying that the teams can't travel and come back to the country freely.
Yeah. And what's mad about this is it's only come in this week, this quarantine. I've got to tell everyone that Charlie and I have a friend who's English, but his late Italian mother means that he's half and half. Gary Staker, who worked for Chelsea for many years.
Sweetheart.
In March, he was visiting his home, which is in Italy, which is near Verona, Trieste. And it was at the edges of the most significant breakout of the virus. And he was there when it happened. And he was on a 2-week break there. And when he came back, and it was already clear that everyone needed to be tested. When he came back, he just walked through the airport at London. There was no one there. There was no one to say, I'll take your temperature. There was no one there to say, are you aware of what's going on? There was no one there to say, how are you feeling? He just walked through, and that was it. And everyone walked through. And to bring this quarantine now, when the numbers are going down, it just seems very, very strange indeed. Why didn't they do it then? And I still can't get over that. But there you go.
Okay. Well, I'm going to get us back on track.
Those are the rules.
Okay. So I'm going to get us back on track.
Let's go to third position.
Yes.
Matt, third position is the team we don't mention because they're so comfortable in third position. Leicester City are the breakthrough side of this year. Brendan Rodgers went there only a year ago. He left Celtic to go there. Celtic, a much bigger club in terms of stadium capacity, history, but he knew that to get back in the Premier League with this club was to get back in the Premier League and build something. And my God, has he done it?
It's the biggest league in the world. It's the best run league in the world. It is, well, maybe Germany would yell at me about that, and they'd probably be right. But it is a fantastic league, the EPL, and it's fabulously wealthy. It's so much wealthier than everyone. And, yeah, I mean, it's really a shame. And I don't want to go off track again on this because I got to tell you, we have our leader, Pete Corey, shakes his head every time we go off track. But the Scottish League has become very minor compared to the EPL. And so it really is a big statement that someone would leave Celtic Football Club to go to Leicester Football Club because Leicester is the much bigger opportunity. Having said that, they are comfortably in third place and could be really in second place. So that really opens up at least one other spot for Chelsea, Arsenal, United, Spurs, Wolves, Sheffield United. I mean, that's incredible. So, so if Man City's ban is upheld, even for a year, that means 2 more spots open up. Because we know that it's Liverpool and either City or Leicester will be there, right? So, but one may not be, right? So now you're looking at two spots. So let's just go with the fact that they're going to cut it to 1 year. We're making this up, everyone. Okay, we don't know what they're going to do, but let's say Cass upholds the ban for 1 year. That means you got two more spots. You have you have Liverpool and then Leicester. Yeah. Who's going to get those other two spots?
Well, at the moment, Chelsea 48 points, Manchester United 45, Wolves 43. Sheffield United with a game in hand, 43. Tottenham, 41. And Arsenal with a game in hand, 40. I've said all year that Manchester United will come in the top four. I'm now desperate for them not to, because I think the top three, it won't change. Although Leicester, by the way, had a shocking run from Christmas on. So don't rule out a complete collapse. I don't think it will happen, but they did have a shocking run. I will go with my fingers crossed for Chelsea and Manchester United as the two. Before we talk about those two, Leicester won the league in 2016. They came over that summer to America for the International Champions Cup, and it was a great success having Leicester over. And I know you really enjoyed working with them and with the
great people.
They're a fabulous club.
Great people.
This season, they have only two players playing regularly who were in that 2016 title-winning team. The goalkeeper, Kasper Schmeichel, who is now the captain, because Wes Morgan, the club captain, is mostly a substitute. And Wes Morgan is older than Charlie. And Jamie Vardy, who is also older than Charlie, and is yet somehow the equal top scorer in the Premier League with Aubameyang. I mean...
because he's good.
It is
like Charlie.
Leicester, who obviously have had money, but who have lost their owner in that ghastly helicopter tragedy when he died leaving the ground after a game. Leicester have been a unique club. Their capacity is only just over 30,000. It's full every game. It's a new stadium. Typically, they got relegated the year that it was opened, which I think was 2001, 2002. And they've come back and they have just done terrifically. They have done absolutely brilliantly under Brendan Rodgers.
Look, they've been a revelation. They really have, Leicester, and they've done. Brendan Rodgers has done an amazing job. And the one thing I want to say about him is they play beautiful football. They really do.
Yeah, and the other thing, just to really underline what you were saying before, when you started bringing teams over for preseason football in the States, you brought Celtic over.
Yeah, absolutely. Several times.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the reasons we can't bring them over now is because the league's coefficient is so down that they're playing in June, these guys. They're playing qualifying for Champions League in June. It's just crazy.
Yet, I mean, obviously, there's a great following for them in the States because of the Scottish people of Scottish descendants.
And big Irish.
Yeah, but the fact is, you've brought Leicester over because they were champions and they built themselves up to it. And I can imagine you bringing Leicester over again.
Sure. I mean, Neil, look, it's all about bringing over good teams with a following. And teams like Leicester, as they continue to do well, will have a following. And the other part is this, Neil, you can't forget. They're fun, and they deserve to be over here with a lot of great teams. So, look, you can't bring over everyone, but they're certainly when they came over, they're a class organization or a class group. I couldn't tell you enough good things about them. You're listening to the Hat Trick Podcast, brought to you by the ICC, where Neil Barnett, Ray Hudson, and myself, Charlie Stolitano, speak to the biggest names and newsmakers in international soccer. A new episode drops every Tuesday and Thursday. Go to internationalchampionscup.com for the latest podcast.
My Chelsea are in fourth place, and Charlie, it always amuses me. Roman Abramovich had these two grand ambitions for me when he took over Chelsea. He did have, I know. One was the Holy Grail, win the Champions League, and the other one was to play beautiful football and become everybody's second favorite team if you're not the most favorite.
By the way, every team in the world has that goal.
Yeah, fair enough.
Except Barcelona, they want to be everyone's first team.
Yeah,
but
he achieved the Holy Grail by accident because his manager at the time, Roberto Di Matteo,
right.
Had been made manager in place of the guy who had been selected after he'd been sacked. Wasn't somebody
Andre Villas-Boas, it should be said.
Wasn't somebody who could be in the Champions League next season because Marseille finished second in the league to Paris Saint-Germain. Di Matteo was made the interim manager. He was told to come fourth in the top four. There were six at the time. He didn't manage it. And as the end of the season was getting closer, he thought he hadn't been talked to. And he thought to himself, I'm going to get sacked anyway. I might as well go for the FA Cup, which they were still in, and the Champions League. And that's what he did. He started in all the big cup games. Didier Drogba at centre-forward. And in the Premier League games, Fernando Torres at centre-forward. And Chelsea won the FA Cup and the Champions League, came sixth, and he got a new contract. So they won
and then they sacked him.
Yeah, but they won it not by design, but by chance and the way the manager was treated. This last summer, Chelsea got a transfer ban, couldn't buy any new players, went with the youngsters. They've been talking about the youngsters for years. They've been winning all the youth competitions.
Before the ban.
Yeah, they bought Pulisic before the ban. And what happens? The manager leaves, Sarri, and goes across to Juventus. And they have to find a new manager. And they decide they'll get a manager who will look after the kids and help them through. They get in their legend, Frank Lampard, in just his second year of management. He plays all the kids. And suddenly everybody likes Chelsea because they're a bunch of kids who are obviously doing
and
their
they like
best
the manager.
The
you guys hate it. Sorry. My God, all the press hated Sarri.
Yeah.
You didn't like him either.
Well, the players hated him. I mean,
I don't know what to tell you. I didn't hate him or like him. I don't know him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was the cigarettes. I mean, there were just cigarettes everywhere. It's against the law to smoke inside, but it didn't stop him. It was. So there we are. Chelsea now seem to be popular because they're playing the kids. It'll be very interesting to see how many of the kids keep playing, Charlie. Because I've got a feeling that on this run-in for Chelsea, the most important player is going to be the man who is no longer at Arsenal, Olivier Giroud, now 33 years old, centre-forward. He was Arsenal's top scorer in 2015-16, which was the last time they qualified for the Champions League. That summer, he was away with France at the European Championships. They got to the final. He therefore missed the beginning of next season, and he never became the first choice that following season. The striker was either Danny Welbeck, who they'd just signed from Manchester United, or Alexis Sanchez, who they'd signed a couple of years earlier from Barcelona and had played on the wing, but was used that year at centre-forward. And they'd never qualified Arsenal for the Champions League again. So he came to Chelsea to get game time. He's never really been first choice since he's come to Chelsea.
But he's an important player, Neil. He's an important player.
But he's won the World Cup since then, and I've got a feeling he's going to be a big player on this run-in. There's Tammy Abraham, but I think he will get a lot of game time in the remaining time.
Well, let me ask you a couple things. Pulisic. I think he's another kid that's going to be really, really important for this run for Chelsea. And there's so much talk of you guys bringing in Timo Werner, Jadon Sancho. Everyone seems to be coming to Chelsea.
Ziyech has already been signed.
Yes, exactly.
Who's a winger or a number two.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's one of the players that was hurt, Pulisic. Now he's recovered. He can come back. This has been really, really good for him, I think. And, in his first preseason, I'll call it preseason, this little run up now, he was very impressive, Neil.
Yeah, he's done okay. In these games, he's done okay. He hasn't shone. I saw a headline that said he shone, and then in the copy it didn't say that at all. Look, I think he's done really well when he's played. I'm a fan, and I think he's going to be a very good player. I saw an article on ESPN FC a couple of weeks ago that said, well, Chelsea signing all these players is his position in danger. What a stupid headline. Of course it's in danger. He's at a big club that is going for Champions League qualification. everybody's position is in danger unless they're Messi or Ronaldo or something. That's how top football works.
That works every single day, Neil.
Yeah, and when you sign a player in a similar position to yourself, it's not to threaten you, it's to motivate you, and it's to motivate that player and everybody else, and that is life in a big club. And the
kid is a hell of a player, Neil.
He had that at Dortmund, never mind at Chelsea.
Yeah,
so
right.
So what's the issue?
And he lost his job a couple starting times too, a starting role a couple times to Jadon Sancho and some other guys that were coming up. He's used to that. But you brought up two good players for Chelsea, two important players, one young, one older. And look, I think if they're going to stay in the top four, very critical, both these guys. Pulisic and Giroud, to me, are very critical.
And the other one is an 18-year-old. He's just turned 19, in fact. Actually, he was 19. I think he's just turned 20. Billy Gilmore, who played the last two games as the number 6, the holding midfielder. He's a rugged Scotsman. He's about 4'7". Don't mess
with him.
You'll lose. You'll lose. He is going to be a really good player. He seems to have a smashing head on his shoulders, and he is one to really look out for.
I want to go through now. I want to go through Spurs, Wolves, and Sheffield United. And then we're going to close up with Manchester United if they can win this thing. Give me a little bit of Spurs. Can Jose Mourinho bring these guys back? I mean, they have Kane, they have Son, they have guys that we thought were done. And Jose was, giving us the classic manager discussion, which is, can't make excuses, but all these guys are hurt, so I'm going to make excuses, right?
Well, Harry Kane.
Now they're back.
Yeah, Kane and Son Heung-min are back, who are terrific players. Although I've been really unhappy with Kane's physical condition for several years, and I don't think he's been he was a monster. He was a beast. He was one of those players that always looked 3 inches taller than anyone he was playing against because of the way he carried himself, because of his strength, because of his pace, because of his technical ability. You couldn't get the ball off him. Because of his ability to turn and accelerate, you couldn't stop him. And he hasn't looked like that for years. He's turned himself into a poacher who gets goals in the penalty area, and still a good footballer and good goal scorer, but not the player he was. And for me, Son Heung-min has become the best player at Tottenham. But
I think so too.
Jose going there. They got to the Champions League final in extraordinary circumstances, with that stoppage time Manchester City winner being disallowed by VAR, and then coming back from 2-0 down, 3 at Ajax on the night, 3-0 down. On
I was there, Neil,
to score 3 goals, but the extraordinary thing about that comeback was that without Harry Kane injured, and at 2-0 down, Pochettino brought on Frederic Llorente, the Spanish striker,
who was fantastic.
And they launched the ball forward in very un-Pochettino fashion, and he knocked it down. And Lucas Moura, the Brazilian Buzzy Bee, fastened onto it and got 3 goals, a hat-trick. It was very old-fashioned English football. It has to be said.
Llorente.
Fernando Llorente is a very, very respectable, old as Charlie footballer who's had a very good career. He was allowed to leave at the end of the season. Partly understandable. I think he was 33, 34. He was allowed to leave, but he wasn't replaced. He was not replaced. And so suddenly they only had Kane and Son who could play up front, and both got injured at the same time, where Mourinho put together a whole load of wins in a row without playing particularly well, it has to be said, but playing very convincingly. And what he did brilliantly, Mourinho, when he came in, the first time he met Dele Alli, he shook his hand and said, "Are you Dele Alli or are you his brother?" Because Dele Alli had been playing so badly.
Exactly right.
And
classic Mourinho.
He then said, "Dele Alli, for me, is not a midfielder. I want him playing closer to Harry Kane." And he played 4-2-3-1, with Dele Alli, number 10, behind Harry Kane, and it just sparked. And it was like Tottenham in their prime, that relationship under Pochettino. But it didn't last. It didn't last. And I have to say that after Tottenham got to the Champions League final last season, they absolutely collapsed in the league and they finished fourth. And it is not a surprise to me that this season they're even further behind. And I think their transfer activity has been ununderstandable, incomprehensible over the last couple of years. They haven't signed big players. And then when they go out and spend money, they spend money on players who aren't the finished deal. They've gone from Walker at right back to Trippier at right back to Aurier at right back. I don't know what they're doing there. They've gone from Rose at left back to Davies at left back. I don't know what they're doing there. They've got two centre-backs who haven't wanted to be at the club. Alderweireld has now signed a new contract because Jose loves him. I'm not convinced by him. Vertonghen's going to leave. They've lost Dembele in midfield because he wouldn't sign a new contract. They don't pay their guys enough. They've never really replaced him. Who?
Eriksen to Inter.
Eriksen, yeah, because they couldn't keep him. And to me, if you haven't been to England and you're going to England, you've got to go to Tottenham Stadium because it's just such an experience.
No, it's amazing. But let me ask you this, Neil. You're a guy that knows Jose well.
Not for me.
I know Jose well. Okay. Do you think he's lost it? Do you think he's lost that magic, that special touch?
Yes, I do. I don't think he's the player he used to be either. Yeah, I do. I think that football's moved on and he hasn't quite moved on as quickly with it. But he's got a new team around him at Tottenham and he needs a pre-season and a chance to...
I did too. I think he can revise it. I think he can revive himself. I do. I believe he can. I think he's a very smart guy.
Of course, he's a genius. But the issue with Jose is he coaches defending brilliantly. He coaches organisation brilliantly. His man management is excellent. But he was never somebody who organised attacking. He left that to the attacking players to improvise. And in this era of football, attacking is very organised. So he's a coach a little out of time, and we'll see how it progresses with his new team.
Well, I think he's going
to progress.
I think he's a genius. I think he'll come back. I think you're right. He does need some time with these guys. I think he's learned a lot from his time off. And
he needs better players.
Yeah, he needs better players.
And I don't think Tottenham will provide them.
Let's go to Wolves. Wolves is basically run by George Mendes. From the manager to all the top players are his guys. He brought them there. By the way, a little known fact, Neil, that Fosun, the large Chinese company, bought part of George Mendes's company, Gestifoot. I think they bought 15% of the company. I don't know what the valuation was. But then Fosun bought Wolves. So their 40 million pound acquisition is worth about 400 million pounds today, Wolves. That's pretty fascinating stuff when you think about it. Where do you think Wolves is going to end up there? Everyone wants the Jimenez, the kid up front. So many wonderful players, Portuguese players all over the field. As I said, most of these are George Mendes's guys. He's really helped create a top flight team.
Yeah, and their manager, Nuno Espirito
Santo, the Holy Spirit. I mean, how can you do better than that? Yeah, all you need is to put Moses, Muhammad on his team, and Jesus, and you're set.
I think he improves players. I think he's one of those coaches that most players improve underneath him. And therefore, as Wolves come along, I think they're getting better with the players they have. I mean, you mentioned Raul Jimenez. I love his partner up front, Diego Jota, who was the Portugal under-21s captain a couple of years ago. He's a wonderfully inventive, creative player. He was let go as a youth by Atletico Madrid. I think they made a massive mistake. But all over the park, they've got these terrific players who either were signed young or were signed because they were rejects at other clubs. They've got the best captain in the Premier League. He's a Liverpool failure, Connor Cody. He was a midfielder coming through the ranks at Liverpool. He was never going to be the next Steven Gerrard. He physically wasn't that good.
Failure is so harsh, Neil. He's a good player, huh?
And he's been turned at Wolves into the centre of the back three. I saw him as a 17-year-old captaining his under-23s team at Liverpool's training ground against my Chelsea. And he ran the game vocally. He was a proper captain, full of motivation, full of cheerful success, congratulations at anything good, full of whipping anyone who wasn't doing their job, and understanding the game, organising.
Is he a taskmaster like Pete Corey? Our producer?
He's not quite as good looking as Pete.
That's good.
But he is by a distance the best captain and best organizer.
All right. Well, let me ask you. That's good because I want to get through this.
I think they can surprise. They would be my outside tip behind Chelsea and Manchester United Wolves. Definitely. I am deeply impressed with everything going on there. And just one other shout. My Chelsea spent 80 million euros on a goalkeeper, on Kepa Arrizabalaga.
Yeah, you can't stand this guy.
It's not that I can't stand him. It's just that I can't freaking stand him. But Wolves got on a free transfer, and I think in the end they agreed a £15 million fee with Sporting Club of Portugal, Sporting Lisbon, whose players all claimed breach of contract and all left after there wasn't security at the training ground and supporters.
So they got beat up leaving the training ground by fans.
Supporters attacked them at the training ground. Rui Patricio was the goalkeeper for not just Sporting Club, but for Portugal when they won the European Championships. I honestly believe that he's world class and one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And he was a friggin' free.
Yeah, no, he is one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Okay, so we have them. I agree with you. Wolves outside shot. Let's go to quickly go to Sheffield because I want to save a little time here for Manchester United and Paul Pogba. Let's go to Sheffield. We talked a little bit about him earlier in the day, you and I. Tell me what you think about Sheffield.
I'm just shocked. I was convinced they were going to get relegated. I've never heard of Chris Wilder until the end of last season when he got them promotion. He played for them. He's a supporter. What a brilliant story. He plays three at the back. He's got this extraordinary tactic that the two wide defenders in the back three underlap the wing backs and get into the opposition penalty area and cause havoc. But they do have trouble scoring goals. They don't concede many. They've actually got one of the best defences in the Premier League. Better, for instance, than Chelsea's. Better than Tottenham's by a distance, than Arsenal's by a distance. It's better than Manchester City's. They conceded field goals at Manchester City. I mean, this is a team playing and performing beyond its budget, beyond its expectations, and in many ways, if you're talking about the most overachieving team of the year, it is Sheffield United.
And maybe the best managed team of the year, putting Klopp aside. Yeah, they've done an incredible job. Let's go over to Manchester United, who does not have a budgetary problem, even though they announced losses recently for this year. This is a team that, Paul Pogba is back now. He's ready to play. Will he re-sign? Will they sell him? I read the transfer report recently, the transfer market report, which has the valuation of players. And it has players like, Mbappe's still about 250 million euros, but you have players after that, like Raheem Sterling, I think was number 2. You had Alphonso Davies, 3 or 4. You had players like this. And what caught my eye was that Pogba was down around 50 million euros. And I think that's probably fair. But he's going to have with him Bruno Fernandes, a guy who's done really well for United since he's come in. Pogba could be another, an integral part of this team for the final, let's say, run to make it into the top four. And they have that leeway, as we've talked about. If Man City gets eliminated, they could be a top five and get through. If CAS upholds Manchester City's ban for the Champions League. What do you think about United?
Well, starting with Pogba, I keep reading the speculation that Real Madrid and Zidane want him, and that seems to have faded rather, and now Juventus want him. Why would Zidane still want him when Federico Valverde, who he's brought into the team, Zidane, has not been on a losing side in the La Liga this season when he started the game?
And he, by the way, is a fantastic player. And Uruguay has these wonderful, fantastic players. Betancourt in the midfield for Juventus. And you have this other young kid, Valverde, for
who's
Real
only 21
Madrid.
years old.
Yeah.
So why would you sign Paul Pogba to replace him when, in a similar position, he has established himself so wonderfully?
Because I've been with, and I'm going to say two things about this. I've been with Zidane when he's actually said to me that he thinks, it's been years now, it's been about 3 years now, at least 2.5 years, where he said that Pogba would be the best player in the world if he was in the right system.
And I don't disagree with that.
With me, basically.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think Pogba has all the abilities, bar one, decision-making. And I think he plays...
You mean good decision-making?
Yeah, he plays for headlines. He doesn't play the game. He plays the headlines. I'm not saying he's trying to make headlines. I'm saying he's trying to win the game every time he gets the ball, and you can't do that.
You have to think that he will be... well, let's say this. With Bruno Fernandes, would he be okay? The second thing I want to say...
Well, sorry, I just want to say, if he doesn't go to Real Madrid because suddenly they may not need him so much, Juventus, to me, can't afford him.
Well, but that's the thing, because if I'm looking at the transfer market report, and the reality is that Pogba at this point, he's not a baby anymore. He's a full-grown adult. How old is he? I need Pete to help us out here.
About 26, 27 now.
Yeah, okay. He's a full-grown adult. Manchester United does not want to lose him for less than 125 million euros, pounds.
He's 27.
Okay. They don't want to lose him for less than, he's 27, and they don't want to lose him for less than 120 million, 125 million. Okay. So that
and
really
his wages.
And his wages. And that to me is the problem when you look at the transfer market report that just came out and what players' valuations are. They have him at a 50 million. That's a big, big disparity. If your club thinks you're worth 125 and the world thinks you're worth 50, well, of course, Juventus and anybody's going to be interested in Paul Pogba for 50. Just marketing purposes alone, you make your money back, right?
The best football that Paul Pogba, for me, has ever played, was not for Manchester United, was not for Juventus. It was for France in the 2018 World Cup.
Yeah, and I thought he was good. I didn't think he was great either. I thought he was very good.
I thought he was great, Charlie.
Yeah, I thought he had a couple of moments that were, nice, beautiful assists, and a couple of moments that were great. I thought it was good, but I didn't think he was the standout player for France.
What I thought in the World Cup was that he was focused, he was responsible, he was disciplined, and he made good decisions. And I thought he was world class. Now, the interesting thing coming to the end of this season is, it's as Zinedine Zidane has so brilliantly said, it's like the World Cup. You just have to focus for a few games.
Right, exactly right.
And get that to the end of the season.
Does he want to focus?
United have got the Europa League as well, of course. Right. I actually think Pogba wants to focus the whole time. I think he's a serious professional footballer. I just think he's a serious player off the pitch as well. And he finds it hard to focus on both at the same time. But I have no doubts that he wants to be successful, but he's a big personality, and he needs to be handled with care. And I think he finds it hard to focus all the time. I've got a feeling he's going to focus absolutely brilliantly until the end of the season, that he and Fernandes will hit it off superbly, that Manchester United will go on a good run and will qualify for the Champions League, especially if Manchester City aren't permitted to. And that will put him in a position in the summer that is different from now.
Well, let's sum it up right here, Neil. We got Liverpool winning the league. Okay?
Quickly.
Will it, is it diminished at all? Because I don't want to go into a long diatribe here, but is it diminished with the COVID, or just who cares? They've won the league. It's amazing.
It'll be diminished in terms of celebration, but it's not diminished in terms of achievement. They will break the Premier League record held by Manchester City, set 2 seasons ago, for 100 points. They need 19 points, I think it is, from 9 games, and they will get them.
Okay. Second, we have Man City, although they could be eliminated. Third, we have Leicester. Who's fourth and who's fifth?
I think it'll be Chelsea and Manchester United. I don't know in which order.
Right.
I think it'll be Chelsea and Manchester United. I think City won't be in the Champions League, and those two will be. But I think Wolves can upset the apple cart. I'm not sure that Tottenham can this time round.
Well, that'll do it for today's episode of The Hat Trick, presented by the ICC. If you're enjoying the show, leave us a review on the App Store. If you've missed any of our shows, you can listen on internationalchampionscup.com. For Neil Barnett, I'm Charlie Stolitano. Talk to you on Thursday. A domani!